All right, let's get right into it. We're going to pull back the curtain on a group of people who are wealthier than you can possibly imagine. And the reason you can't imagine it is because, well, you've probably never even heard of them. And it all comes down to a totally different way of thinking about money, power, and what success even means.
Now, you might think this is just some hypothetical, but no, this is a real person. His name is Dieter Schwartz, and yeah, he's worth over $60 billion. The guy doesn't do interviews. Most people who work for him have no idea what he looks like. And that is not an accident. That is a strategy. So what if the truly richest people in the world have mastered something the famous billionaires just never learned?
You know, the names we all know, Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg, they're part of this, what our sources are calling a powerful family star system. They just soak up all the media attention, right? All the scrutiny, all the public fascination. But this system, it creates an illusion. It's a distraction from a whole other tier of wealth that operates in a completely different dimension.
And this, right here, lays out the two paths perfectly. On one side, you've got the icon. They're loud, they're visible, they're constantly in the public eye, dealing with lawsuits and media cycles. Frankly, they're exhausted by it. And on the other side, you have the architect, quiet, invisible, and just free. They have all the wealth with absolutely none of the baggage. So, let's meet some of these ghosts. I mean, these are the people who have built unimaginable fortunes by mastering the art of literally staying hidden in plain sight.
You see the pattern here, right? We've got the owner of Lidl, no interviews in 3 decades. The guys who founded Aldi, who became even more reclusive after one of them was kidnapped. The owner of Heineken, you've probably had their product, but you've never seen her face. Their anonymity isn't just some weird side effect of their wealth, it is the core strategy that makes it all possible. And a strategy like that is only possible because of a fundamentally different psychology. They're operating with what you could call a mindset of perpetuity. See, for them, wealth isn't about personal validation. It's about building something that is going to last for generations.
Man, this table just nails the difference. The architect's main goal is multi-generational control, while the icon is chasing public validation, getting a high rank on the rich list. The architect has zero tolerance for public risk. They project power quietly, indirectly, through things like lobbying and private foundations. The icon? They thrive on reputational risk, moving entire markets with a single tweet. One is playing for keeps, the other is just playing for applause.
And this, right here, this is the most important part. For the hidden wealthy, their net worth is not their self-worth. They have completely, totally decoupled their wealth from their ego. The money is just a tool for building systems, for building dynasties, not a megaphone for screaming to the world about how important they are. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The loudest people in the room are very often not the most powerful. True, secure wealth doesn't need to announce itself. It just operates quietly in the background. So, to maintain this incredible level of discipline, they focus like a laser on what the source material calls internal optimization. And this isn't just, self-help talk. Things like structured journaling are treated as mandatory management tools. It's about ensuring the psychological stability you need to run an empire in secret. But this mindset doesn't just stay in their heads. It's also built into the very structure of how they hold their wealth. Right? Because this mindset, it isn't just an idea. It's translated into a very real, very complex financial and legal fortress. And it's designed for one purpose and one purpose only, to make them completely invisible. And that fortress is built on 3 main pillars. First up, private control. By staying away from public stock markets, they don't have to do all those mandatory disclosures. Second, legal complexity. We're talking about the most sophisticated layers of trusts and tax law to make their fortunes almost impossible for anyone to track. And third, niche industries. They dominate boring,
but absolutely essential sectors that almost never make the headlines. And to give you a sense of the scale of that first pillar, private control, just think about this. Koch Industries is the second largest privately held company in the entire United States. That's the level of success you can achieve while deliberately staying out of the spotlight.
Okay, so our sources make it really clear that this privacy isn't just some defensive shield for peace and quiet. It's also a tool. Because when you operate in the shadows, you can exert a massive amount of influence without any accountability.
One source, Uncoach My Campus, describes exactly how this works. They state that the dark money network created by this structural privacy allows wealthy donors to influence politics, education, you name it, without leaving any fingerprints. It's a way to literally shape the world without anyone ever knowing it was you.
So, what does any of this mean for us? I mean, most of us aren't building billion-dollar empires, but the mindset here is surprisingly useful. How can we actually use these lessons from the shadows in our own lives?
Here are 4 key principles to think about. First, try to decouple your idea of success from other people's recognition. Second, focus on building real assets, not just audiences or social media followers. Third, understand that financial privacy, even on a small scale, is a form of power. And finally, try to think in decades, not just in financial quarters or 90-day sprints. Ultimately, it comes down to this. These are 2 totally different games. One path is about fame. It's about seeking recognition, building a public brand, and monetizing attention. The other path is about freedom. It's about seeking reality, building systems that last, and monetizing silence. They have different rules, and they lead to very, very different prizes.
And that brings us to the final question, the one this whole thing really boils down to. What do you actually want? Do you want to be wealthy, or do you just want people to think you're wealthy? Do you want freedom, or do you want recognition? The richest people you've never heard of? Well, they made their choice. And maybe, just maybe, they're onto something.